Welcome to Inclusion Solutions. My name is Sue Milano. I am an educational resource specialist, and today we're going to talk about lessons we've learned through Google Classroom over the last 6 weeks. So a little bit about myself first. I'm a special educator. I've been working in different school settings, but most recently in a private Catholic school supporting students that are neurodiverse. And so I want to tell you a little bit what that means. So we have kids that are what we consider to be neurotypical. It's not correct to say normal anymore because there is really no normal. And we know that now during quarantine better than any other time. So neurotypical would mean a child that can learn in a classroom without needing any special accommodations. Kids that are neurodiverse means that the way that their brain is wired is probably a little bit differently than what you would typically expect. And so some of these kids have disabilities like ADHD, executive functioning deficits, learning disabilities, maybe a speech and language impairment, possibly autism. And so you can imagine that distance learning is really difficult for neurotypical kids, and it adds an extra layer of complexity for those kids that are neurodiverse. So what we did at our school in the beginning of the year, we actually were all introduced to Google Classroom, and it was considered an optional platform that teachers could use. I would say about 50% of our teachers adopted it, and the rest kind of did things the way they had been doing it previously. And then March hit, and apparently Google Classroom was the new way to teach everybody. So there was a steep learning curve for a lot of our teachers. And what happened with that is some inconsistencies in how the material is presented. And as you can imagine, there's inconsistencies of what's going on in kids' homes right now. So there's some with parents that are home that can be supportive, some are not. Some kids are sticking to a regular schedule, some aren't. Some don't have a support system at home. Some don't have their own computer. So there's a lot of things going on in the house that is inconsistent with the kids. So the more consistent that we can be with the way that we deliver instruction, the better that it's going to be, not just for the neurodiverse, but even the neurotypical kids. So I'm going to bring you over to one of my Google Classrooms and show you just a few little things that you may or may not know that's super helpful. So the stream is normally where you would put announcements and sometimes classwork. Now, some kids will automatically go and look at the stream, but some kids like to just kind of go over and look at classwork, which is basically, oh, that's my to-do list. That's what I know I need to do. What we found is that some teachers are putting assignments in the stream, but not in the classwork tab, and then the kids are missing assignments. And it's really hard to track them down once they're missing something. So my best advice is to double post. So if you're putting things in the stream, make sure it ends up in classwork also, and then you're hitting everybody. So it doesn't matter where the kids are looking, they're going to know where their assignments are. I found that a bunch of our teachers didn't know about the people tab. And so what's really nice about that is if you want to just look at one individual child and not one assignment, you can click on the people tab and your class of kids will show up. And when you click on one particular kid, it'll show you what assignments they had turned in and what assignments are still missing. Now, as a support personnel, I don't have my own class right now. My job right now is to help all of the neurodiverse kids so that they are understanding the work that they need to do and turning it in. So if I'm looking specifically at a kid, I can go to each Google Classroom and find and go down, and I don't have to search through every assignment. I can search by the student. Another thing that I learned, which is really helpful if you are a support personnel person, is you can be a co-teacher on your regular teacher's Google Classrooms. So if I were to go to my list, you can see these are all my Google Classrooms because those are all the teachers in the building that I am now co-teaching their classes for. And while I'm at this tab, I'm going to show you this to-do list. So what happens here is anything that the kid has to do will show up on this list. I don't have a list because I'm actually a teacher, not a student, but oh, maybe I do. So it's been very helpful for parents if they're looking for one spot specifically where all of their kids' assignments are. And so I say, well, do you know about the to-do tab? And they are it's very helpful that they can go, oh, I didn't realize that my kid has all these assignments that are missing. So that's pretty much what we know about Google Classroom. But let me take you over to Google Meets for a minute. So this is my calendar. One of the things that we learned more than anything else, and I think everybody can relate to this, is that we miss people, right? So we're kind of need that connection. So the more that we can see, the kids can see their teachers and even see each other, the more connected they're going to be with the material. Because this is a time of isolation that a lot of the kids are feeling. So we started using Google Meet. And so Google Meet is similar to Zoom or to WebEx or GoToMeeting, but it's all through the Google platform, which they're already on. So it makes things really, really simple. I'm going to walk you through how you can set up a Google Meet, and then I'm going to take you into one. So let's just pretend I wanted to have a 9:30 meeting with my friend Crystal. So I would just put it in here and the date, and then I would add her as a guest. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, it says add rooms, location, or conferencing. This is where you're going to set up your Google Meet. So you can see here, add Google Meet video conferencing. So I'm going to click on that, and it's going to generate a link for me. So I don't have to do anything right now. I can cut and paste that if I want, but I'm just going to click save. Oh, do I want to send an invitation? Yes, you always want to send an invitation, because now they're going to get an email that says, hey, a Google Meet has been set up with you and your teacher. So please do that. Okay. So now I have a Google Meet set up with Crystal. So when it comes to May 1st or whatever date this is, and I'm like, oh, how am I going to get to that Google Meet now? I'm going to go back to my calendar. I'm just going to click on it, and then I'm going to click on Join with Google Meet. Now, this is going to look a little bit funny because it's going to look a little bit dubbed, because it's going to be behind about a minute on how this works. But here's my Google Meet, and then all I have to do is say Join now. So now we're in a Google Meet. There's a couple of different buttons and things that you can play with around in here. So the first one is if the student doesn't show up, and honestly, this happens to me more often than not, they need a reminder. So I will click on this, and it says add people here. And so you can put their email address in again, and then it'll send them another email that basically says the meeting is started and you're not there, so come and join us. I've found that the chat feature is very good, especially when I work with a lot of kids that their internet is not always stable. And so they'll pop on and it'll be digitized and a little bit scratchy. So then I'm trying sign language with them. And when that doesn't work, we hit the chat box and I can say, can you hear me? Try logging in again, something along those lines. If you hover over the bottom, hover over the bottom, there it is. There's a couple things down here you can do. You can mute yourself, you can hang up, don't do that yet. You can turn off your camera if you want to. One of the things that I found to be the very most effective is sharing my screen or sharing the screen of the students. So I don't know if a lot of you are using Khan Academy, but a lot of our kids are using Khan Academy for math. And the only way that I can see their Khan Academy is if they share their screen with me. So I teach them to go down here to this Present Now button and then click on your entire screen. And then they can share their screen with me and I can see the exact problems that they're working on and I can help work through it with them. The other thing that we do is we record all of our meetings. So you can go back to it if you need to. And that is just a way of record keeping. And there's also a couple of different settings and different things you can do in here, but I don't use any of those. I just use record. So that is how we use Google Meet. And when you're done and you don't want to, and you say goodbye, Oh, another really important thing that we do is anytime I'm on a Google Meet with a student, I try to figure out, do they need to meet with me again? And when do they need to meet with me? Is it tomorrow? Is it in 2 days from now? And I set it up before I even hang up with them, because I'm not even quite sure they're going to check their email if I send them another one. So we always set one up before we leave the one that we're in. So we're going to leave this one now. And you left the meeting. And then I'm going to go to one other thing that we figured out was really helpful. So in the first week of distance learning with us, I got an email from a mom who said, my child, a neurotypical child, has normally on top of her work all of the time, and she is floundering right now, and I don't know why. And so I set up a Google Meet with her, and I found out that what was happening was that she was going in to Google Classroom, and she would check one or two Google Classrooms. Now, these are junior high or middle school kids, so they have 6, 7, even 8 classes that they have to check on. So if they go into Google Classroom and they see what they have to do for math, and they go in the Google Classroom, they see what they have to do for science, and then they're like, oh, they get excited about it, and then they get started on their work. And then they get their math work done, and then they get their science work done. They feel a sense of accomplishment. They checked their Google Classroom. Mom says, did you do your work today? They're like, of course I did. And then they go, and everybody feels like everything is done. But what happens is they haven't actually checked all of their Google Classrooms. And so when I realized that this was an issue for a child that normally doesn't struggle, I knew this was going to be an issue for kids that struggle a lot. So I created this template, which you're welcome to use or adopt for yourself or modify or whatever you want to do. And what I've done is I've listed their classrooms, so math, language arts, science, social studies, Spanish, PE, and health. That's what our kids are, and usually there's religion in here too, of what they need to do. The first box is about checking Google Classroom. I want them to deliberately tell me, yes, I checked Google Classroom. And then what is it, the assignment that you have to do? When is it due? And then I would like to know when you completed it. And then the tricky thing is submitting it. So if you're on Khan Academy, you automatically submit. Certain things are going to work that way. But there's a little turn in button on Google Classroom that sometimes the kids do the work, but they forget to submit it. So they know they did it, but it never actually reached the teacher. So I've added another little column for submit, so they make sure that they hit that step. When you're using this checklist, and this is just an example of one that I've done with, this is an actual child's work. Sometimes the work is late because they don't get it all done in one day. And sometimes they have trouble prioritizing. So this friend has a Rome project to do, a test on the moon, and a math quiz to do. And really the most important thing was Rome. And she decided, because I said, how would you like me to help you prioritize this? And she said, oh, I like colors. I'm like, great, I like colors too. So we decided the brightest color was the thing that she was going to do first. And then you can move down the list. Now watch me here. Do you see the little paint bucket? So you know that when you hit purple, this is going to be the brightest. And then there's different levels. So this just was something fun for her so that she can see which ones came first. Now, she didn't follow the priority list because green means completed and red means I haven't done it yet. And so not everything always works out the way that you want, especially when you're not there to be able to guide them. But we just keep working with it the best we can. Again, because she likes color-coded, she's got red in here, meaning I haven't done it yet. Green means I've done it. Some other kids are just putting yes. I've seen them write the word done. I've seen checks. And the other thing about this that I really, really like is because it's a Google Doc, it's shared with me, and I can share it with the teachers, and I can share it with the parents. And so instead of micromanaging the child, we can look in and see if they're doing their work or not. And I've sent different kinds of emails to kids. I've sent some emails that say, I looked at your checklist and I don't see anything done. Did you forget about it? Or did you stop working? And then other times I can just send an email that says, I see you got a lot done today. Good job. I hope that you feel really great about yourself because I know how hard this is. And so there's some positive reinforcement there. And then there's some level of accountability where you can keep track of what the kids are doing. So I hope that you found this helpful. And if you come back next week, please, Inclusion Solutions will be presenting how to help students with at the high school level. So look forward to seeing you there. Thanks so much. Bye.